It has a title, babe.
Well, we're alive.
It's dog training Q&A. It has a title. Nikki titled it.
Well, you're live. 11 seconds in.
Yep.
You want to say hi?
Hey, everybody. Nobody's on yet.
Doesn't matter. They're going to watch this later and be like, what is happening?
We're going to answer questions here in just a second. We're going to give people a few minutes to get on. Then we'll start answering some questions. We've got some questions that came in throughout the day, and we're going to answer those questions first, and then we might have time to answer some questions that you guys post in the comments. Oh, that's a problem. So, thank you all for joining. Hey, Big B. We've got our drinks. Hopefully everybody else has their drinks. Emily's drinking some Christmas crap.
Jack Frost, and you appreciated it very much.
It's called a Jack Frost. Yeah, it's got candy canes on the rim, so.
But more importantly, it's 100% alcohol.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Nikki and Sarah. All right, so a couple questions we got already. The first one, do you use a prong collar forever, or can the dog be switched back once trained?
I'm supposed to ask the questions around here.
Okay, fine. You gonna ask it then?
So are the prong collars used forever, or can a dog be switched back once trained?
So typically on a walk, I want some kind of tool on the dog all the time. And that's for those oh shit moments. Even if the dog's really well trained, Odin is super fantastic in heel. I took him to the hospital today, and he really didn't need his prong at all. But I want to have it on him just in case. You never know what the world might throw at you. You got to have a way to communicate with your dog and be effective. So I say, if you're going to be out and about, have some kind of tool on your dog. It doesn't matter how well trained they are. You got anything to add to that, ma'am?
Being that I'm not the dog trainer, my experience with that, Reza, our girl who likes to chase deer, she sees them well before I see them. And without a prong, there's many times that I think I could have had her get away from me. But we just always have them, so it's never been an issue. Ready for number 2?
Yeah.
What should you start working on first with a 4-year-old rescue dog?
This is a great question. And I think it's the first thing we work on with any dog, and that really is leadership and permission. We want to control what the dog does. And so we're going to make the dog wait to come out of the crate. We're going to have the dog wait for permission to move. The dog's going to wait for permission to eat. They're going to wait for permission to go out the front door. They're going to wait for permission to pee. We really are going to take every choice away from the dog and make all the decisions for them. No. We've got a whiny dog. Sorry. So that's kind of the first thing. And you can do all of those things really without tools. Coming out of the crate, and just shut the crate door. Going out the front door of the house, shut the door. Use the leash to control their movements, make them wait for things. It's a lot of work, but it'll make your dog more aware of you and make your relationship better. Awkward silence.
Number 3.
Number 3.
We have a 6-month-old puppy who is great with sit, stay, and come. Loving with all people and animals, but gets overly excited. Runs, jumps, and bites. It seems playful, but nothing we know to do stops the behavior. He will launch himself through the air and bite, ripping clothing. we've had to crate him in order to stop it.
So this sounds like a really amped up puppy that knows commands. This is a pretty typical issue with a lot of dogs, and that's why we do state of mind training. We don't just teach commands. We teach dogs how to control that energy, how to turn it off, how to be calm. But my easy solution for this is a bonker. It's just a rolled up towel with some rubber bands. Dog goes to launch itself through the air. You literally take the rolled up towel, you say no, and you throw it at the dog. And I'm not talking some easy toss at the dog. You really need to chuck it at the dog. Lots of people ask, well, do you have to hit the dog with the towel? Well, yeah, you need to hit the dog with a towel. It's not effective if you don't. I mean, if you make a sound with it, that might startle the dog, but to stop the behavior, you're gonna have to make it not want to do that anymore. So throw the freaking bonker at the dog, startle the crap out of them, and get them to stop. You're not gonna hurt the dog. It's a rolled up towel. They're easy to make. We use bath-sized towels. Emily, you cut off, what, a third off the edge?
Yeah. I mean, you fold it up to where it's easy to maneuver in your hand.
Right.
If the towel's too long, it's going to have a little bit of a flop to it. It's not going to be firm. But whatever feels comfortable in your hand. Washcloths, not so great.
Washcloths are too small. Yeah, we use bath towels.
Yeah, use a bath towel. Trim the sides. You can Google how to make a bonker. It's super simple. The trick is to roll it up really tight like you're packing to go camping. Wrap it in like 3 to 4 rubber bands so it's nice and firm, and be able to chuck it.
Yep. And get that no out first so that your no can start to have value. And if you're having trouble getting them when they're launching, do it when they first come out of the crate. It'll be really effective too.
Okay. How do you handle a dog who is reactive to other dogs on a walk and fence fights with other dogs? I've never heard it called that before. Through the fence when he's in his own
Fence
yard.
fighting?
Fence fighting. I've never heard the term fence fighting.
How long have we been doing this?
You've never said those words.
That's because we don't allow fence fighting.
Yeah. So, where are we? I digress. He gets in the red zone and turns on our other dog, making him moan/cry.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got a couple things going on. It sounds like we've got a reactive dog. So I can talk about that first. And then we've also got a dog that's fence fighting and then reacting or redirecting on its housemate. So first, to address the reactivity, I gotta say, reactivity is tough. And we typically, this is at least a 3-week board and train with us for reactivity because we address it in a multitude of ways. First, you gotta teach your dog e-collar heel. I say e-collar because a prong collar is not gonna be effective with reactivity. So they've gotta know e-collar heel. They've gotta know it's non-negotiable so that when you're walking down the street, if they start to react, they have to know that you are gonna say no, and they're gonna get a correction for that. So start with the heel. Start with small distractions, and so not other dogs lunging and barking at you. Just try walking by some people. Walk by your other dog that you have. Hopefully it's calm on the leash. So start small. Make sure your heel is really tight. Then start adding in more challenges. So walking by other reactive dogs. And if your dog is reactive at all, you have to be able to go high on the e-collar and get above that reactivity level. Because if you don't go high on the e-collar, they're not going to feel the correction. Reactivity, it's tough because of that, because lots of owners don't want to go high on the e-collar. But you got to get above their level. If you've got a dog that's going up to a 10, you've got to go up to that 12 to bring them back down. It's tough, I know. It's not fun to make those corrections, but to make your dog more comfortable on the walk and more enjoyable to walk, you got to do it. So that's how to address the reactivity on the walk. Also, we do things like instilling lots of leadership in the home and making sure they're not pushy, bratty dogs, because lots of reactive dogs can be pushy and bratty. So holding them accountable in the home as well is a big deal. The fence fighting, I would say just put an e-collar on them and correct them for that crap. Don't allow it. And through all of this, if the dog is redirecting at all, I would recommend a muzzle, because redirecting is dangerous and you don't need to get bit. So Baskerville muzzle to make sure that you're safe.
And with that, you can also see some negative kind of emotions and reactions from the other dog too. Like that other dog can withdraw and become really just not the same dog. So getting ahead of that.
You mean the housemate?
Yeah, the housemate, for sure.
Yeah, you don't want to have a negative impact on that dog or for them to become reactive. So you got to nip it in the bud.
Or for them to get injured. Any tips for protecting your dog from loose dogs while out walking and hiking?
Yeah, so this is becoming an increasingly big problem, I think, in our country. People are getting, taking their dogs more places. Their dogs aren't trained. They're letting them off leash regardless of leash laws. So I really think carry a big stick. Carry a big stick, and I don't just mean a stick. When we take our dogs off leash in the woods, I carry a taser to protect our dogs. It's your responsibility to protect your dogs and do whatever you need to do that. And it sucks that we have to do that sometimes. But the only way to do that is, I'm saying do a lot. Sometimes our bodies aren't enough. Lots of times I can move dogs away just by, moving my body, using my feet, yelling at them. Sometimes that is not enough. So carry a big stick and be okay with using it.
Yeah. And know your laws too about like what happens in your area. Like our county, it's a fence out law. So like if you've moved to a new area, what's the likelihood that you're going to come across a lot of dogs, and just be prepared for that, because we were not prepared for that when we moved here.
That's true.
Because our old county, it was a leash law. You fenced your dogs in, no dogs are allowed off leash. And so moving here, where if you don't want animals on your property, you had to fence them out. So if we're not on our property, it was open, it was fair game. And so dogs roam freely. And that was a big thing especially on days when Jess was working and the kids and I were walking dogs. Like, we had to be very comfortable very quickly with using air horns and bear spray, like knowing how to use it and not worry about that stuff. So just be aware.
They're telling us our internet is choppy.
That's not good.
Is it choppy for everybody? Because that really sucks. Can I get a thumbs up?
Is it good, bad, indifferent? Everybody's gone.
Oh, okay.
They're not hearing us at all. Number 6. Lately, when we do long distance recalls, our dog will come, then runs through me, keeps going past me. Tips for managing this: should I go back to a long line?
So for this one, you definitely could go back to a long line. Anytime you're struggling with something, there's no harm in taking a step back. The long line's not a wrong answer. However, you've got an e-collar trained dog, and so when she's coming towards you, you can absolutely use continuous e-collar pressure and slow her down as she's coming towards you. And I don't mean like a high correction. I just mean like mid-level, something she's going to feel to slow her down. And then as she's getting towards you, go ahead and say down before she gets to you, so that she knows she's got to be slowing herself down and she's expected to be downing. That should help her not run past you. Now, let's say she's continuing to just bolt past you. That deserves a big old correction. She doesn't need to be doing that. That means she's totally ignoring you. You can absolutely correct her for that. And a lot of dogs that are just, I'm having fun, I'm recalling, blowing past you, they deserve a correction. And also the down helps with dogs not running into your knees. So if you tell them down early, they're like, oop, down, and you don't get those dogs taking you out. So, guys, we're going to continue to have these lives and hopefully keep them pretty short, but we would love you guys to submit questions. If anybody has any questions you want us to answer now, we're done with our pre-selected questions, and I think we can try to answer some questions live, although I've had a bit more to drink, so I'm not sure the answers are going to be appropriate. Hopefully it'll be okay. So if anybody has any questions you want to submit in the comments, go for it. We'll stay on for a couple more minutes. We really appreciate you guys joining us, and we hope to do these. What did you commit to? What did you say you'd do?
I committed to the whole shebang. I don't know. We said monthly? I don't know.
Monthly? I thought we were doing weekly.
Oh my God. Well, if our schedules match up, you'll get us weekly.
Nikki, what did we say?
I don't recall weekly, but also I've had a bit more to drink than when we had that conversation.
All right. Anybody got questions for us?
I think they're asking about whining. What can be done to help with whining? Just, I'm taking, like, that means in place, in general, in the kennel, at all.
Yeah, Big B's a tough one. Big B.
We remember him fondly. We deal with this with a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
A lot of dogs. And just when you get one who's not doing it, we get a new one in who is. The shh is very effective.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I thought it was a
Yeah.
joke when you told me we were going to start doing
Yeah.
that, and it really.
Yeah, and I don't think I was doing that with Big B. So the shh is a new thing, but it does have to have some value behind it. So there are times when I'm using the e-collar when I shush, and oh, Cooper, are you laughing too? I got everybody laughing at me back here. Yeah, I hope that shushing and putting some e-collar behind it, some low-level stim. If you need to, use higher-level stim. And just, you got to be really consistent with the whining. Anytime they whine, they need to feel some e-collar pressure. Yeah, when it's a whiner that whines all the time, that's a lot, but you got to stay on top of it. Consistency is the key with whining.
It's like Ferberizing your kids. The Ferber method. What's that from? Is that from,
I don't know.
Yes, you do. It's from a movie. Come on, you guys. Help me out. Anyway, it's like sleep training your baby. It's really, really hard at first, and then it gets easier. They catch on. They know. Don't do it. It calms down. I was not being sarcastic, though. The shushing method really has been very effective with the dogs that we've had in since you started implementing that. So
yeah. Okay. How do you handle a 10-month-old that barks viciously at our youngest child, who's 13?
3-week board and train.
Yes, 3-week board and train, but it needs to be told that that's not okay. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Definitely not okay.
Punishment.
Yep. Behaviors like that have to be punished. You can punish it whatever way is effective for the dog. I'm a big proponent of e-collars because there's so much versatility, because we use them to train the dogs. We can use them to punish. We teach obedience. We use it for anxiety. We use it for so many things. It has such versatility, and it gives owners empowerment. But there are other ways you could try a bonker. Some that can be super effective for things like that, depending on the dog. I would not suggest a prong and leash because prongs without a proper prong pop, which is challenging to do, especially if the dog is amped up, it will amp the dog up more. So you've got to have something that de-escalates the dog. That's why e-collars are so great, because you can go way high. And bonkers are great because it de-escalates the dog. You need something that de-escalates the dog when they're in a heightened state. But the dog has got to know that that is not okay. But also teach the child to respect the dog's space. Make sure the kid's not putting pressure on the dog.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, kind of clue in and think about what's happening in those moments and see if you can piece together. Is there food involved? Are there toys involved? Because that means resource guarding. That's a huge thing that can be really nipped in the bud with feeding in the kennel only and not letting the kids be near the dog while it's eating, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of figure out where these instances are happening and occurring, and if it's like a pattern that you can kind of work out of. Not
that it excuses the dog's behavior.
No, but it helps you correct the problem.
Yeah. And there are things we can do to help prevent those things. We do want to advocate for our dogs and make sure they're comfortable in situations.
Because it might definitely be a warning sign. Like they're uncomfortable with something.
Yeah.
So.
What is the difference between a prong and an e-collar? Okay, great question. So,
do you want me to get them?
Yeah, will you grab a prong? I've got an e-collar. Come here, Sadie.
She's coming in.
So an e-collar, this is what the dog wears. It's got a transmitter, and I've got a remote. So when I push a button on the remote, it sends a stimulation to this. This is not her remote, so I can't, these aren't paired. But it is a stimulation. Lots of people say, oh, it's shocking. No, these aren't electrical shocks. That's not how these work. In fact, these are waterproof, so the dogs can go swimming with these. There is no electricity. These are muscle stimulators, much like what you get at physical therapy if you put on a TENS unit. It's the same kind of technology. So it's stimulating the muscle. So at low levels, it's actually comforting to the dogs. Other levels, it's just sending a message of, hey, I need you to pay attention. And then at high levels, it's corrective. So lots of different levels. These, we use e-collar Technologies Mini Educator. This goes from levels 0 to 100. So fantastic versatility. I have total control over this with the knob. The other nice thing about this, it's got a half-mile range and it's got a tone. So it's not going to work on Sadie's, but when I push this T button, the dog that it's on, it'll make a tone, and a half-mile away from me, they can hear it and they know that means come back to me. So it's a really fantastic tool. This is the prong collar. So this is used just to walk dogs on. I'm not trying to flip you guys off, sorry. So this is nice for puppies and for walking dogs on. Very simple tool to use, and also one of the safest things to walk your dog on for a dog that's pulling. The premise of it is it pinches. They're also called pinch collars. So when you provide pressure, it pinches like this. Therefore, it cannot choke the dog because it provides pressure all the way around the neck versus putting pressure in one spot, which lots of collars do. Flat buckle collar, even a martingale, puts pressure on one spot. So you'll get the dog that's choking, but yet doesn't stop pulling. This will prevent a dog from pulling. And kids can walk dogs on this. It's almost foolproof. So really easy tool to use and safe for, I put this on 12-week-old puppies. And just fantastic tool. You make corrections with this, but again, it's not my favorite tool for making corrections. I much rather make corrections with the e-collar. So, go ahead.
It's self-correcting.
It is self-correcting. So if the dog pulls ahead, they're going to make a correction on their own. So, and if you're thinking about using a prong collar, we only use Herm Springer, which are made in Germany. And the reason for that is there are cheap knockoffs that have mean prongs that have points on the end of the prong, and they're not rounded. So that's mean. That's not nice. We use prongs that are rounded, not only on the prong, but on the end. So they're much more gentle in their pinching. We don't want something that's jabbing into the dog's neck. So super safe, super effective, and one of the easiest tools to use. Good question.
But we never leave it on unattended
Correct.
in a kennel, anywhere that it can get caught or snagged.
Clearly, Emily is the safety data person today.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, Sadie?
Great question. Well, we've been on much longer than I anticipated, 25 minutes, and my drink is empty, so I think we're going to call it a night. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you joining. We will definitely announce when our next one is, and maybe it'll be next week if I can convince Emily. See you all. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.